O'clock news starts right now.
A man is in trouble with the law after police say a 1-year-old ate an edible infused with one of the chemicals found in marijuana. You'll be surprised how close some of them look to actual food.
How was a 14-year-old beaten, shot, and killed, and all the suspects involved were facing murder charges, and then their charges were downgraded to assault charges? A defense attorney explains how this can happen.
Do you know how to do CPR, or do you need a refresher? I definitely did, and I'm getting a full lesson from the American Heart Association coming up.
Record-breaking warm day today, feeling like spring, but get ready for temperature whiplash this weekend with a strong cold front. The News at 6 starts right now!
How do you follow that up? Hello, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Stefania Jimenez.
And I'm Myra Arthur. We're beginning tonight with developing news that we have been following for the last 3 hours or so. Cleanup is underway right now after a massive fire at a Northwest Side apartment.
Those flames broke out just a few hours ago, and our Sarah Costa is there right now at the Avistar on the Boulevard Apartments. It's on USAA Boulevard. Sarah, we know that nobody was hurt here, but have you gotten a sense of how long the fire crews are going to be there at the scene?
Well, Stephanie and Myra, they're probably not going to be here for much longer, maybe another hour or two, or maybe just, 1 or 2 trucks overnight watching those hot spots to make sure they don't flare up. A lot of the trucks have already started to leave. Now, over 100 firefighters were responding, trying to put this fire out at one point, and let me show you why. Just take a look at this drone video that we got earlier this evening. You can see the roof of the apartment building collapsed onto the building, essentially flattening the second floor as firefighters go through the rubble and try to put out any of those hot spots. Now, just before 3 this afternoon, a fire broke out in one of the buildings here at the Avistar apartment complex in the medical center on USAA Boulevard. This is right across the street from McDermott Elementary School. Joe Arrington with the San Antonio Fire Department says it started on one of the balconies of the second story, and then it spread to the attic. That's what caused the roof to collapse onto the building. It was put out within about 45 minutes. Now, 18 to 20 people live in this building, and like we said earlier, no one was seriously hurt. The apartment complex will be rehousing them in other apartments on the property. Only one building caught fire, even though the ones next to it were evacuated for safety. At this time, the power is still cut out to a lot of the buildings here at the apartment complex. No word on when that power is going to be restored. As for what started this fire, they are still looking into that. The Red Cross has been contacted, and they are working with the families who were impacted. Live from the Northwest Side, I'm Sarah Costa, KSAT 12 News. Myra, Stefania.
All right, Sarah, glad no one was hurt there. Thank you. A 1-year-old girl is recovering this evening after accidentally eating something that was meant for grown-ups.
San Antonio police say that somehow she got her hands on edibles laced with chemicals that you'd usually find in marijuana.
So Katrina Weber shows us how that led to one man's arrest and how easy it might be to confuse edibles with food.
Inside this downtown hospital, San Antonio police began investigating something that started in a home and left a 1-year-old girl needing medical attention. They arrested 22-year-old Jacob Carranza after he brought the baby there early Thursday morning. Police say she had eaten what's known as an edible, an item laced with a drug found in marijuana.
Mellow Monkey.
Jackie Walgie sells an assortment of edibles at her Mellow Monkey shop, but says she'd never dream of leaving them or even other things like prescription drugs within reach of a child.
If a doctor prescribes you something to take home, it's now your responsibility as the parent to make sure that it's not down where they can reach it.
Still, Walgie admits some items could be tough for a child to resist. It's unclear what kind of edible the baby ate, but even some of these store-bought ones look a lot like food, everything from pastry to candy. Can you even tell the difference?
The only difference that you see here is that it's got the THC.
She goes out of her way to avoid selling items with packaging that looks like other products. Police are still trying to figure out how the child in Carranza's care got her hands on the edible, but doctors were able to stabilize her. If somebody ingested, say, one of the rings, what kind of effect?
I mean, it's going to make them very lethargic and especially kids very confused.
There's no confusion in the charge against Carranza. It's injury to a child. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
No one is facing murder charges for the beating and shooting death of a 14-year-old boy.
But at one point in this case, capital murder was part of the case. Charges against 4 suspects have now been downgraded, though, to assault. Sarah Acosta spoke with an attorney who explains why this could have happened.
There are multiple ways in which this can happen. Often people don't really understand that.
He was killed back in April while walking home from SAISD's Brewer Academy. Now, the surveillance video shows a group of 5 people following Cuevas as he left the school. Police say he was beaten, shot, and killed at the corner of Elmendorf Streets and Merida Streets. Now, all 5 people were arrested and charged with capital murder. But now their charges have been downgraded to a 3rd-degree felony of injury to a child with bodily injury.
Carl Anderson is a criminal defense attorney. He is not part of the case of 14-year-old Simon Cuevas.
It seems very shocking that someone can be arrested for capital murder and then suddenly a charge that is significantly less serious than that actually gets filed.
Anderson says this can happen for a number of reasons. One, police might have acted too soon.
You have to make an arrest and get someone off the street. And then as the investigation unfolds, you realize that, well, perhaps we jumped to a conclusion and it wasn't quite the charge we thought it was.
Or there's a flaw in the evidence.
That doesn't allow the district attorney's office to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it's an intentional and knowing killing.
Or maybe no one talked.
If no one talked and they have nothing to demonstrate that everybody knew that gun was there, that gun was going to come out, that's where you're going to run into a stumbling block.
Sarah Acosta, KSAT 12 News.
The UPS plane that crashed in Louisville, Kentucky on Tuesday, killing all 3 crew members and at least 10 other people on the ground. Amazing pictures there. Was recently right here in San Antonio for maintenance.
And today, KSAT spoke to the former chief inspector for that firm, ST Engineering. He cautioned against assigning blame for the fatal accident so soon. Jeff Coates worked in aviation for 39 years before retiring last year. His decade on the job was spent working on the MD-11 exclusively. He said that news reports claiming the plane was grounded in San Antonio for major fuel tank repairs are inaccurate.
That is not correct. It was in San Antonio for a scheduled maintenance visit.
So let's go back to that because Coates added that these maintenance visits or C-checks happen every 2 years. The National Transportation Safety Board is going to spend at least the next year investigating why that plane's left engine separated from the wing after takeoff.
All right, time now to check in with meteorologist Adam Caskey. He's talking about an upcoming cold front live from one of the hottest football rivalries in San Antonio, Harlandale versus McCullum tonight,
Yes.
Adam.
Oh, hot rivalry, hot day, and some hot, fresh food at this tailgate. Now, I was kind of hoping weather-wise that we would need all the smokers and the fire... Woo! All the smokers and fire pits to keep us warm. But instead, no, we were plenty warm, and we've got the nice sunset behind us. The sunset, your Harlandale colors back there, right? In the sunset. All right, I've got 3 students here with me. Quick question. How many touchdowns do y'all plan on scoring tonight?
6, 7!
6, 7! You don't... Yeah, buddy. I'm sorry, it just doesn't get old to me. Okay, let's take a look at today. It was a record warm day. 89 the high temperature today, and that's a new record high by 1 degree. We beat the old record by 1 degree, and tomorrow's going to be pushing records as well, just pretty much as warm as today. 7 o'clock, 83, so cooling rather nicely. By 8 o'clock, we're 79. End of the game, about 76. So again, finishing off very nicely this evening. We're going to take a look at some of the good grub that's out here and talk with more fans and especially dive into that cold front that you're going to feel first thing Sunday morning. See you in a few minutes.
All right, Adam, thanks. If someone went into cardiac arrest right in front of you, would you know how to save them? 12-year-old Bianca Jimenez is alive because her school nurse knew CPR when Bianca went into cardiac arrest back in May.
So we checked back in with them 2 days ago when she was honored by the American Heart Association, which, by the way, is going to hold its annual walk tomorrow. And the big lesson here, the big message is to learn CPR. So Courtney Friedman got trained, and she shares with us, what she learned.
My name is Jordan Campos. They like to call me the CPR guru.
Show me how to do it. Okay.
So, like I said, 2 easy steps. Call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest. So you're going to interlace your fingers and keep your arms nice and straight.
Okay.
The pressure that you're applying is not coming from your muscles. We're not bending our arms and pushing. We're leaning into the chest and applying as much pressure as we can that way.
Like body weight.
Exactly. So you're going to take the heel of your palm and place it in the center of the chest.
Okay.
I like to take my dominant hand and place it on top, but it really doesn't matter. It's whatever's comfortable for you. And you're going to put it in the center of the chest here, and we're going to start to push. The rate that we're pressing is 100 to 120 beats per minute. Most people think of the song Staying Alive.
Yes.
Some of our younger viewers might want to listen to Baby Shark while they're doing it.
Stop.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a 4-year-old, so Baby Shark
there
is
you
even
go.
closer
You
in
can
my
sing
mind
it.
than Staying Alive.
Yeah, there you go. I'll let you give it a shot.
All right, so dominant hand here.
There you go.
Yeah, you do have to push hard.
Yeah, it's a good amount of pressure that you do have to apply, and you're going to be pretty tired. We're going to start hands-only CPR and keep going until the ambulance arrives. Somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, we got it from here. We're taking him to the hospital.
And the thing that I think of is if you are getting tired, you're in a public place, the more people who know it, the better.
Exactly.
That's good. I mean, it can be a team effort, right? Someone else can jump in.
100%. Yeah, you definitely want to be able to rotate because as you get tired, you're not able to apply as much pressure, and then the CPR is not as effective.
Okay. The reason that you do add breaths with an infant is because it's necessary.
Right. We've got to get that oxygen in the lungs because likely that is why their heart has stopped.
Okay. And after our lesson, we headed out here to the campus at Northeast Lakeview College, where the American Heart Association's Heart and Stroke Walk is happening tomorrow at 8 a.m. Last year, 5,000 people came, so you can bring your friends. You can even bring your dog, so they hope to see you there. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
As for infant CPR techniques, we have a link to that on our website. Just find this story by searching CPR.
And if you want to register for the walk tomorrow, you can head to the American Heart Association's website. Also, good luck with that walk. Now we're going to show you something live here, a live look from San Antonio International. Yeah, it's a live picture right now, even though it looks empty there. We're learning how the longest government shutdown in U.S. history is now affecting airports even more than it was before. Coming up at 6:30, we discuss how that shutdown is also going to affect local travelers.
Plus, our Ernie Zuniga talking with meteorologist Adam Caskey in a new episode of Pickup Lines. I warned Ernie to keep it in park. We'll see what happens. Still to come.
The coming cold front will have some of us reaching for jackets, and the strong winds may whip up allergens that will have some of us looking for relief. Why one health expert says allergy sufferers need to keep an eye on their symptoms.
It's about to be 6:15 on the dot. There you go, right there. One of my favorite things to do is show you live pictures of our roads when there's really not much going on, because that's pretty much the case throughout the city. Yeah, a little bit slow right there at 281 at Loop 410, but really no accidents to speak of at this hour.
Well, we are on the seasonal seesaw when it comes to temperatures. This weekend, a cold front is coming our way, and it will get windy.
So the point is that you've been warned. People are going to be looking for allergy relief. Bashada Pope got expert advice to help you breathe easier.
This is the time of year we start to see a massive influx in patients coming in with more severe allergy symptoms. Their symptoms are sneezing, sniffles, runny nose, itchy, watery red eyes, kind of sore throat, lots of mucus production.
Celeste Laura is a nurse practitioner with South Texas Allergy and Asthma Medical Professionals. She says it's important to know your symptoms and how long they're hanging around because they can
mimic kind of illnesses or flu symptoms.
She says parents need to keep a close eye on children with symptoms, especially if they've already been diagnosed with asthma.
We also have to remember that allergies and asthma can go hand in hand, and especially with those kiddos, if we don't treat it early on, it can progress to something even more, like exacerbating their asthma and making that worse.
Laura says with strong winds coming in with the cold front, it's possible there could be more allergens in the air. She says allergy sufferers should know when their allergy issues usually kick up and should start treatment. And if you haven't paid attention, the notorious mountain cedar season is on the horizon. It starts in December.
So if you know that you're running into the time of the year that's more problematic for you, you want to start a little bit before that season and continue on through. And those treatments are pretty good for other allergens as well.
Some of those treatments Laura recommends to her patients include over-the-counter antihistamines, nasal sprays, and rinses. But she says if
the symptoms are still persistent and become more severe, then I definitely think it's time for a visit with an allergist.
Pashada Pope, KSAT 12 News.
You know, you don't want to be dealing with allergies tonight, especially all those high school football players who are going to be hitting the gridiron.
Yeah, it was a hot day out there. I think we hit a record. Is that right, Adam? He's out at the Frontier Bowl tonight.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we hit a record high temperature. Wah, wah, wah. 89 for the high temperature. That's a record by 1 degree. Now it's cooling off nicely. Still, unseasonably warm. But look at the scope of this tailgate. Oh, I love the Frontier Bowl. Right there, you're looking at the McCollum side. Then we come around to the Harlandale side over here. And you notice my new duds, this new shirt, right? It's a split, so it's both teams, right? I'm 50-50 right now. And I've been seeing a lot of chicken on a stick going on around here. We're going to talk to the man responsible for that and take a look at some of the other good stuff he's cooking. First of all, I want to get into the forecast and talk about this colder air that's headed our way. Tomorrow, just like today. And notice across the state, we had widespread 80s to even low 90s. The colder air is just off to the north, and it's starting to plunge southward. So South Texas, yep, hottest place in the U.S. today. Sunday, you're going to wake up to the front. It hits right after midnight. You'll wake up to it very windy, and temperatures plummet from the upper 80s down into the mid-60s. And actually, the coldest air yet this year arrives Monday and Tuesday in the morning when we wake up to temps in the 30s those mornings. So the cold air is just working its way into the Dakotas and Minnesota. The core of it, though, still in Canada. Look at that, below zero in parts of Canada. That is, my friends, technically the polar vortex pulling southward and bringing some very unseasonably cold air for this time of year, at least to our neck of the woods and the eastern U.S. It's the opposite when you head to the west. It's kind of a split across the lower 48. It's going to be brief, though. That warmer air really moves back in after just about 2.5 days. But, we're talking way below average, especially just along and east of the Mississippi, 15 to 20 degrees below average. Look at our morning temperatures. Sunday morning, not that cold at 58, but we'll only make it into the mid to upper 60s. And then Monday and Tuesday mornings, we're down in the 30s. And I think even a brief light freeze in parts of the hill country on Monday and or Tuesday mornings. Now notice those highs, 67 on Sunday, 67. And then by Monday, we're at 63, and then quickly we warm back up, and by next Wednesday, we're at 80. So back to the jackets, out the door, back to work and school on Monday morning. All right, sir. Now, I was watching a lot of people walking around with their chicken on a stick, and I was like, all I see are barbecue pits. So show me your operation. What do you have going here? How many chickens did you get prepared for today?
About 35.
35.
And then we prepared about 80 chicken strips.
Okay, now tell me what this is.
And this is only for special guests like this guy right here.
Look at this. So you took a potato and you have your little device that then you twist it and you make one big, basically, chip out of it, or, kind of French fry.
Either that or homemade French fries.
I love it. Doing it right over here. All right. So obviously, who you cheering for tonight?
Harlandale.
All right. Ava's dad, one of the cheerleaders. Ava. Woo! All right. We're going to actually go closer to the stadium coming up at 6:45, and we're going to enjoy some of this food in between. See you in a bit.
Good food and a cool contraption. He's right at home. Thanks, Caskey.
He is very happy right now. All right. Coming up next on the news at 6, they're a crucial element of search and recovery. Yesterday, we introduced you to the K-9 units helping in the Hill Country flood recovery efforts. And after the break, Patty Santos gives us a closer look at how exactly they do what they do. You just never want to think about a loved one disappearing, but if it ever happens, That, my friends, is who you want out there looking for them.
They are among the state's most important tools in finding lost people. They also track down drugs and weapons. They were in South Texas for training, and Patty Santos got to see firsthand how well this K-9 team performs.
Meet Piper, May, and Izzy. They are part of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department K-9 team. There's 9 of them spread all over the state.
Piper is a detection dog as well as search and rescue. So Piper specializes in the narcotics detection with an emphasis on search and rescue, tracking, off-lead searches, and article searches.
Izzy also does wildlife detection, so she looks for red snapper, oysters, trout, shark fin, doves, and ducks.
Our primary purpose is going to be search and rescue. Being along the border, of course, narcotics is prevalent.
As you heard, they have a nose for finding things, whether it's in vehicles, the woods, guns buried underground, and in this case, even our GoPro camera lost in the water. We wanted to see how long it would take one of them to find me.
I'm currently in a hiding position out in the woods.
I'm about 350 yards away across a body of water.
Okay, so from where I'm standing, I'm able to hear the handler yell out some commands.
We want the dogs to know that even if water's barricading them from the target, which is a missing person, we want them to be able to cross it or learn how to find their way around it.
They are trained to work in any terrain and weather. And get this, all but one are female.
We've learned from experience the female dogs tend to be a little more mature, a little more focused.
Huh, interesting. Back to the search. After circling around the pond, it took about 2 minutes for her to find me. Her prize?
Good girl.
A game of fetch.
Patty Santos, KSAT 12 News.
Love that subtle shade.
Yeah.
Love it.
Important team right there.
Yeah.
All right, after the break, a look at how the ongoing government shutdown is impacting airports all across the country.
Welcome back. $20 billion. That is how much Texas voters committed to invest in the state's water supply on Tuesday night.
It is the largest investment for water in Texas history, but Christian Riley explains why it likely won't have an impact until at least 2031.
What do you think will start the next World War? Artificial intelligence, nuclear capabilities? Well, scientists theorize it will actually be fought over water.
Water projects are, absolutely critical to life. Our economy is based on it.
Voters overwhelmingly approved Proposition 4 Tuesday night, which is the largest investment for water in Texas history.
The 70% is a decisive message from Texas voters that water is really important to this state.
Prop 4 will set aside up to $1 billion every year in sales tax revenue, which can be funneled into one of 11 funds.
We got a bunch of people moving to Texas, and not a single one of them is bringing any water with them. You got to find, where the water comes from.
And after a devastating summer along the Guadalupe River,
people are believing what they're seeing with their own eyes. The low lake levels, the low aquifer levels, the drought, the massive floods.
And these new funds can also be used towards flood infrastructure.
You either have too much water or not enough. So it's really challenging for local communities to develop mechanisms to store it when we have it, but also to get it out of communities whenever there's too much.
It's still a long road ahead before communities will actually see this money. The funds first have to be collected, which they won't start doing until 2027. Then the legislature has to actually allocate those funds during their session, which isn't scheduled until 2029, which means projects likely can't start until at least early 2031. It's important to note that this is on top of the $50 million already provided for flood infrastructure during this summer's special session. That money has already been made available. In Comal County, Christian Riley, KSAT 12 News.
We're keeping count. What's now the longest government shutdown in U.S. history is now on day 38, and it's having a larger impact on airports. Domestic flights, we know, are down 4%, and we know that more cuts could be on the way.
We saw that picture of the San Antonio airport earlier. Things look all fine there, but it's what's happening around the country that could impact us here. CNN correspondent Maribel Gonzalez joins us now live from Los Angeles this evening. Maribel, thanks for being here. What's the latest on flight reductions, and how can people navigate these changes?
Yeah, Stephanie and Myra, like you mentioned, these could continue, especially if the government doesn't reopen. The Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced today that those flight cuts could go up to 20%. Now, this is because they anticipate more air controllers not showing up to work due to this prolonged shutdown. Now, what can you do if you are traveling amidst these flight cuts? Well, even if your flight is not canceled, give yourself extra time to get to the airport. Now, if you can, get dropped off, don't park because that does take time, and try to take a carry-on instead of a checked bag to save you some time, for example. Now, if you are traveling, make sure you download the apps from your airline because that is where you will get a notification if your flight is indeed canceled. And if you are affected by this, then you are entitled to a refund.
So, Maribel,
we're hoping for the best, but we have no.
Well, I have another question for you. We're all thinking about it, right? Thanksgiving, that is in 20 days. What if this continues on until then? Do you know if these cuts are going to affect holiday travel? Are there any talks about that right now?
Yeah, so that is something that is on the mind of many travelers. We know that fares were already forecast to be up compared to a year ago. So cutting back flights will likely raise those prices. So if you haven't purchased your flight tickets yet, you may see those prices reflected when you do your research. The hope is by some industry observers is that the government shutdown ends and the schedules return to normal before the week of Thanksgiving, which is quickly approaching, as you mentioned. That week is often the busiest week of the year in terms of flights.
So many people flying this weekend, flying right now. People take time off. They save up to pay for these tickets. Anything that you can tell people in terms of tips outside of the holidays that they can just keep in mind right now to try to protect themselves, try to make these flights go as smoothly as possible?
Well, as we mentioned, you are entitled to a refund in case that happens. And we did speak to some experts who say just remain calm, and if you have the ability to take a road trip instead, probably opt for that because not only are we dealing with the shutdown, but also the anticipated congestion from that holiday travel. And keep an open mind because obviously this is subject to change at any point. We actually saw some of those changes even today as more cuts were anticipated. So keep an open mind because we never know when the government may reopen and we may strike a deal to be able to reopen the government.
Maribel Gonzalez, thank you so much.
Spurs point guard De'Aaron Fox will make his season debut tomorrow night when the Spurs host the Pelicans. He's been rehabbing an off-season hamstring injury and is all set to return. As for tonight, the Spurs will host the Houston Rockets in an NBA Cup Group C contest, and this is the Spurs Cup court at the Frostbank Center. Wednesday night in L.A., the Spurs got Kelly Olynyk, Lindy Waters III, and Jeremy Sohan back in the mix. This morning at shoot-around, Keldon was asked how Jeremy looked.
He looked really good. Well-needed spark. I feel like it's great to have him back. It's great to, we getting our guys back slowly but surely. And it's always good to have everybody there loaded. And it's gonna be scary once we get a rhythm.
Here's the matchup: the 5-2 Rockets at the 5-2 Spurs. The game tipped off at 6:30 p.m. at the Frostbank Center. We will be right back.
No jail time for the San Antonio father accused of causing the death of his 8-month-old baby back in 2023. That's Alejandro Martinez. He's been sentenced to 8 years deferred adjudication. And what that means is essentially no jail time. If he complies with all of the judge's restrictions, that charge can get removed from his record after 8 years. Martinez was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon after his baby died. Investigators said that he and the baby's mother had been arguing when a gun went off and struck the baby and the mother. The child died. The mother was also charged in the incident, and she's scheduled to appear in court next week.
Also in court today, the defense delivering a major blow to the prosecution's case. This happened during the trial of 3 former SAPD officers accused of killing a woman in her own apartment. She was going through a mental health crisis that night in 2023. This afternoon, the prosecution wanted to call Chuck Joyner to the stand. He was the state's law enforcement expert, but the defense said that the state did not disclose that Joyner is currently a Texas peace officer or that he had reviewed additional body camera video from the scene that night. So the judge ruled that Joyner could not testify. A similar issue came up once before in this same trial. The defense and prosecution have now rested their cases. Closing arguments begin at 8 a.m. Monday. You can watch it live on all of our streaming platforms. If found guilty, the 3 former SAPD officers face up to life in prison. Looking ahead to Monday, our KSAT community partners are teaming up with the San Antonio Food Bank and Meals on Wheels SA. From 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., we are collecting food and resources to help local families impacted by the government shutdown.
And this is where you come in. We would love for you to come and donate. You can also bring pet food. That donation drive is happening at Pinstack. That's the one on 410. Anybody who donates can also receive a $5 game card from Pinstack. And of course, we hope to see you there. We hope that you can help.
Let's take a look at what's coming up tonight on ABC's Prime Time. At 7 o'clock, it is Celebrity Wheel of Fortune. Then at 8, 2020. And in tonight's episode, an Army soldier goes missing and detectives follow the clues, what they discovered. And then 10 o'clock, join us for the Night Beat.
But now we want to take a live look outside right before we go into break. 85 degrees out there. Ooh, we've got all those football games going on tonight. Our Adam Caskey is going to join us in a few minutes just to tell us what else is on tap for the rest of the weekend. And also, let's not forget tonight.
This week on Pickup Lines, Ernie Zuniga's candid conversation with a familiar face, our buddy and colleague, Adam Caskey.
KSAT's longtime chief meteorologist was born and raised in Minnesota and then went to college in Chile, North Dakota, before eventually coming to San Antonio back in 2014.
But you can probably count on 1 or 2 hands the number of times you felt the kind of cold that you would get in North Dakota here in South Texas since you've been here, right?
Yeah, you never get that cold here.
Do you miss that?
No, not at all.
So
it hurts.
The freeze of, was it 21?
Yeah,
like
21.
Some of those mornings we still haven't experienced in your time here.
No, I mean, we're talking 40s below zero. 40 below zero is what I had, up in North Dakota, and wind chill's even colder than that. I don't want to live in that anymore.
No, shoveling snow and picking ice off your windshield and everything.
Scraping. No, man, I've done enough of that in my life.
Yeah. Do you remember the very first time? I know your fascination with weather and science started very young. Do you remember that day or that time in your life when it kind of clicked and you were like, this is what I want to do?
Most of us in my industry, yes, absolutely. The superstorm of 1987 in Minneapolis. And it was just one of those big, severe thunderstorm, tornado outbreaks, and it just hooked me. I didn't want to be in our basement watching the coverage. I wanted to go outside. I wanted to go see it happening. I wanted to see what was going on.
You were a kid?
Yeah, I was 6 years old then.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was young.
And your parents, did they think you were insane to want to get out of the basement? Because I know we don't have basements in South Texas, but were they, son, what are you doing? Get back down here.
And then years later, they'd be at work or somewhere else, and neighbors would call because I'd be on the roof trying to watch storms coming in. Not the safest thing to do, but I was a young, dumb kid, So I'd climb my way up and try to get a better view.
I did some dumb things when I was a kid,
right?
too.
We've all been there.
All of that makes so much sense. You can check out more of that conversation, of course, on our website at KSAT.com. Well, the city was doling out help today to people whose SNAP benefits have been slashed thanks to the government shutdown. District 8 City Councilwoman Evelise Mesa Gonzalez teamed up with the city's Department of Human Services to give away HEB gift cards. It happened today at the Bob Ross Senior Center.
We're now helping people put food on the table, the most basic thing. And I'm grateful for the $150 gift cards that these seniors whose SNAP benefits were impacted will at least have this. But we know the solution is people in Washington, D.C., the federal government needs to get back up and running.
Mayor Jones talking a lot on Tuesday when she joined us on the Q&A about the city help. If you're being affected by the government shutdown, we do have a list of resources on KSAT.com.
Now, we have to talk about Worst Fest because the 10-day festival kicked off at 4 o'clock today, and you can get your tickets right now. The event is happening at 178 Landa Park Drive up in New Braunfels. Today's first Friday hours are 4 to 11, and then tomorrow hours are from 11 a.m. to midnight. Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday hours are 5 to 11. You can find out more information about event schedules, ticket prices, and so much more on our website, KSAT.com.
Good night to be at Worst Fest. Good night to be out and about, or, you know, right on the football field where Adam Caskey is ahead of the Frontier Bowl.
And you know, Myra and Steph, I know for a fact I've got a little pulled pork and dino rib stuck in my teeth, and I'm going on air, and guess what? I don't care. It was so good. So worth it. Yeah, we're on the field level right now, and the players are just about to come running out of their little respective tunnels here and with their inflatables. And let me tell you, it feels so much better out here right now that that sun has set and it's not beating down on us. Let's talk about this weekend. Tomorrow's going to be basically a carbon copy of what we had today. Upper 80s, right near 90 degrees, a lot of sunshine. And then Sunday, the bottom falls out, 67 for the high temperature. That's it. We're going to spend basically all day in the 60s with high winds and very dry air moving into town. And that dry air and high wind will give us the combination of high fire danger as well. So that's something to consider, particularly on Sunday. Tomorrow, 60 at 7 a.m., 88 at 4 p.m., little bit of humidity in the air, kind of like today, and then the cold front hits. It's a strong one. It's a doozy. Takes us from near 90 down into the 60s for Sunday and Monday. Morning low temperatures will drop down into the 30s by Monday and Tuesday. That's in San Antonio as well. Not just the hill country, but we're talking in town, within 410, within 1604. We'll have 30s back to work, back to school on Monday morning. There's the cold air being pulled southward by that upper level trough. You see that the blue on the screen indicating the cold air. It's going to be brief. I mean, we're talking about 2.5 to 3 days, and then it's back up near and into the 80s. But very below average for this time of year. I mean, we're talking unseasonably cold air. Parts of the panhandle of of Florida could actually get near freezing. That's Florida, North Florida. The hill country, I think, will have a brief light freeze, if not Monday, by Tuesday morning. There's the wind, 45-mile-per-hour gusts on Sunday from shortly after sunrise all the way through the noon hour, and then still pretty gusty into the afternoon. Unfortunately, we can't even make a cloud, nonetheless rain, anytime soon. Total sunshine throughout. And once the winds die down and we have the very dry and colder air in place, Monday morning, have the jacket ready to go. I do think, if not Monday, by Tuesday in the hill country, we could have a brief light freeze. And look at that, only 63 the high on Monday, but then we warm back up. A little bit of something for everybody. 72 on Veterans Day Tuesday, and then it's back into the low 80s by the middle of next week. But the humidity is going to be kept at bay. That's the latest from Harlandale Memorial Stadium. Stay warm next week. We'll see you in a little bit.
This is the digital board at the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. It's the Cowboys' statement about the passing of defensive lineman Marshawn Nealon. Now, the media caught up with Dak Prescott last night to get his thoughts.
Tragic loss. I hurt heavy heart today. I hurt for Marshawn. I hurt for his family. I hurt for his girlfriend. I heard for every single one of my teammates. This is a pain that you don't wish upon anybody. You wish none of us had to go through this. You wish Marshawn didn't have to go through what he went through.
Dak spoke at his field dedication last night, where he went to high school in Houghton, Louisiana. His fiance and daughter were there with him. The BGC road trip tonight will kick off in Livonia, where the Bears will look to finish the regular season undefeated in District 15 4A1. The Bears are 8-1 overall and 4-0 in district, and tonight they're facing 6-3 El Campo. The playoff-bound seniors are looking to finish the regular season on a high note.
It's a big game for the seniors, considering it's our last home game we'll ever play. We're not making it bigger than it is because we played Ocampo last year, we beat them, but this is a new season, so that doesn't matter.
We did good last year, but it's good to see that we're advancing and we're continuing on through each year, and we're looking to do that every single year after, even when we graduate.
Oh, it's still super important. I mean, I would love to have our season in district undefeated. I mean, it's still super important to us to get a win.
The road trip tonight, we'll see Ocampo at Lavernia and Nixon Smiley at Stockdale. And hey, KSAT Sports Now is live next on KSAT Plus. We've got Spurs game day, Texas A&M football, and South Florida's head football coach wasn't happy at all with Coach Traylor. That and more tonight at 7. We'll see you then.